Nick, how are you today?
I am perfect. I'm excited to be here. So
Nice to meet you, by the way, again.
Nick,
I appreciate you for coming by and recording. You are the head coach for the Newcastle High School boys team?
Boys team, yes.
Okay. Tell me, introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and we'll kind of start from there.
Well, I moved here from Missouri in 2010 to play sports. I played at what's now Randell, but it was Hillsdale. I played soccer and basketball there. And then whenever I got done with that, I went straight into coaching. I coached at Randell for 8 years. And then when COVID happened, I kind of just stepped away from everything. You know, I had my fun. And then about 2 years ago, I kind of was like, man, I feel miserable. I need to get back in the game. And, you know, I found my way out to Newcastle, and I've been there ever since.
Do you live in Newcastle?
No, I live in Moore.
In Moore? So, okay, so it's not too far.
It's like a 15-minute drive. I mean,
nice.
I don't have to worry about traffic, so.
And you played at Randell, too.
Yep.
Hillsdale, I guess.
Yeah, I played at Hillsdale. I did that for 4 years.
How many national titles do you have?
So if I include, am I including coaching?
Okay. Yeah,
So
go for it.
If I include everything, coaching and playing, I think at Randell I've got 6.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, let me give you one of these. Congratulations.
No, yeah, I tell kids, you know, it doesn't matter what school you go to. If it's a national title, it's not that's something you can't get taken away.
Yeah,
so
natty's a natty.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Did you play with Dylan Espinoza?
Yep. So me and Dylan Espinoza played at the same time. He was arguably the best ball striker I've ever seen in my life. But if you asked him to run for about 15 minutes, Dylan would be like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that."
Yeah. I actually grew up with Dylan. Played middle school, high school, and he was always a baller.
He's so good.
He wasn't a runner,
no,
but the things he could do with the ball in his feet, yeah.
Dylan knew exactly what to do. He said, "All right, I'm going to stand right here, and you're going to do all the work. You're going to pass it to me, and then I'm going to score." And then that's exactly what he did. I mean, he always knew how to find side netting. He was beautiful to watch.
Nice. I didn't expect us to talk about Dylan. Shout out to Dylan. I know he's probably watching this. I'll clip this for him.
Yeah.
So from Missouri to Oklahoma.
Yep.
Did you play soccer in Missouri?
I did. Yeah, I played all growing up, and just so when I graduated, my dad is the president of a junior college, or he was before he retired, and so I got to go to school there for free. So, you know, easy. And then after about a year, my dad looked at me. He's like, "Dude, you just look freaking miserable. Like, go do something." And so he's like, "Go find a place where you know you can play. You know you're just gonna enjoy your college career." And so that's what slowly led me out here to Oklahoma City.
To Randell University or Hillsdale. Did they recruit you?
They had been to some leadership church conferences I'd been in when I was in high school. I knew they were there, and so I was like, "Hey, you know, So I gave them a call, and they're like, "Yeah." And then the more I looked into it, the more I knew they normally when I first went there, they had 14 players. So it was never enough to where it's I knew I was going to get playing time, and that's really all I cared about. I didn't care about the cool uniforms. I'm like, hey, I just want to go somewhere. I've been a year out of everything. I just want to go and play, and they let me play basketball there as well. So I was like, that's a win. That's a win-win.
So you're dual sports?
Dual sport. And then after 1 year of basketball, I was like, I am too short to play in college. Yeah. So I definitely I hung out with the JV teams with all the other soccer players. So.
Nice. Well, shout out to your dad for having that foresight and seeing that, it isn't all about academics,
Yeah, he definitely, the whole free college was a big thing, but, he could just tell us you're not happy. And, enjoy stuff. And so I got to do that, and, it's the best decision I made. So. And
you said a while ago that you stopped playing, but then you needed to find your happiness, I guess you can say again. So you decided to coach again. Yeah,
so whenever I got done, because when I stopped in Randell, it was 2020, so it was COVID, just big thing. And I'd kind of, me and my wife talked about, I had my fun, getting to coach every single day and getting to really, my schedule was just so free. And my wife kind of said, hey, you've had your fun. Let's go, we just had our first daughter. So let's go provide, let's go, do what, be an adult per se.
Yeah.
And so, stuff. Yeah, I went and I took a job in trucking. I sold semi trucks. And so really? It was a great job, but it was just miserable. And my wife kind of, the same way, she's like, you just don't, go do what's going to make you happy. And I know coaching is going to make you happy. And so I was literally just on the message boards every single day, trying to find a job, and just, popped out at Newcastle. So.
And when was that? This was 2020?
That was 2022. So I started at Newcastle in February 2022. So that was like mid-season for them. So I wasn't able to hop in just instantly. But after the school year ended, I started back with the program. So last year. So this is my second full year at Newcastle, or with the soccer program.
And they had a good year last year?
Yeah. So, last year, if you include preseason, we went 15-5.
It's not bad.
You can't
75.
Yeah, you can't beat that. We beat the teams we should have beat, and all of our tough games. Like I think we never lost by more than a goal all year, and so defensively we're extremely sound, and we've got a really good goalkeeper, and so we're very good. We just kind of unfortunate the way it ended. So, but we're looking to get back at it this year.
You were the assistant last year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now the head coach.
Yeah.
What's going to be different this year than last year?
I think the biggest difference is going to be a little bit of mentality. We're not going to let the guys settle for just being mediocre. I think last year kind of it's the high school thing. You kind of let kids slide a little bit more, but just with us getting at practices in December, like if it's not, if our top guys aren't giving it the best, then we're going to work and we're going to run and we're going to like. I tell them all the time, it's okay to hate me. Like, it's not going to bother me. But then, when you look at back down the road 10 years, you're like, man, like, I hated that guy, but he was an amazing coach, and he propelled us to where the greatness that we hope to expect.
Do you have any rivals that you're looking forward to competing against?
I don't really know enough about, because we switched districts. So we were District 1, now we're District 2. So, we really don't have any big rivals. The biggest person in our district is Clinton. They've won everything under the sun, kind of like Santa Fe South. So I don't know if I'd call them a rival. It's just that's who I'm excited to play against. Even if they beat us 10-0, I'm excited to see where our guys kind of stack up with them. So
what kind of coach would you say you are compared to the player that you were? What kind of player were you? And what kind of coach are you now?
I was, when I was in college, I played all over the place. I played winger. I played, center mid, center defensive mid. So I played everywhere, but I like to give my kids freedom to kind of do what they want to do. We're going to implement a style of play, and then whenever it gets down to it, in mid-game, if some of my captains come over and I'm like, hey, this isn't working. I'm like, okay, like what's going to work? Because they can see the field and I can't. And so, I want to give them that freedom, but at the same time, we're going to say, hey, let's do this because it's going to be what makes us successful. So, I want them to kind of have an open mind about the game, and because with high school, it's just so one style. I've only been here for a little bit, and I know that I could say every single team plays long ball. They've got one fast guy up top. They just kick it to them. And so it's like, if we can just give kids a little bit of freedom, it's going to help out. That's why, some of our top clubs, the Energy, Celtic, all those, they're those top kids who are, being more free with the ball and not afraid to dribble and make mistakes. That's why they're so successful, because we're letting them do something they've never did. So that's what I'm hoping that our kids kind of realize, is like, hey, just play free, enjoy soccer, let the ball do the work, and at the end, if the ball goes our way, then we'll be happy. Yeah,
that's 4A soccer for you. And then you got the 20-mile-an-hour winds either going against you or with you. So
4A soccer has always been, is your fast guy faster than our fast guy? That's what it's all about. So
not being offsides. How different is high school soccer here? I'm assuming you played in Missouri, right?
Yeah.
How different is it? Pretty much the same?
It's the same, yeah. I think even when I was in college, when I was recruiting all over the place, high school soccer is genuinely the exact same no matter where you go. It's just when you start getting into those like top tier schools and then top tier like clubs, that's when it kind of changes. But I don't think I've really ever seen a school that's like, hey, if we're in trouble, we're gonna pass back to our goalkeeper, force a little bit of pressure, then kind of play out of it. Just, even top schools here in Oklahoma, they don't do that. They've got the one or two guys who they can say, hey, get him the ball, get out of his way, and just let him go work. So
yeah. And I see you have your Celtic cap on.
Yep.
Are you coaching at Norman Celtic as well?
Yeah, so I coach at Celtic. I coach 2013 girls. I just started that this past year. And
really?
Yep.
How are you liking the club scene? It's definitely a lot different than high school soccer.
Club is just its own little beast. But I've just got one team out there so far. I'll probably pick up a few more in the fall. But I love, my girls are, they're great. I love being able to teach those fundamentals, and the girls really enjoy, they've kind of bounced around all over the place, and now they feel like they've got a home, and they really enjoy being able to say, hey, every day we're going to have a good practice. Every day, we're going to have fun. We're going to learn something new. I'm going to challenge them. And the hardest thing is going from high school where I'm just yelling at these guys and saying, hey, like this is what, we've got to really get at it. And then going to coach 10-year-olds, 9 and 10-year-olds. So sometimes I'm like, hey, and I have to kind of pull that back. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I can't yell at a 9-year-old girl about not juggling the ball 2 times. So.
Yeah, well, it's definitely different. You got the 9-year-olds who you're trying to build their fundamentals, as opposed to the high school players where you don't really have time to build those fundamentals. You're kind of just running and gunning with what you have. So yeah, it's definitely different. Definitely different.
Oh yeah.
And congratulations on that past tournament. I see that you had some success, right, in the previous tournament that you played?
Yeah. So we went to the Energy, the showcase, and our girls got second. So, we're the bottom team for our age group, but I think we got a medal in 4 out of the 5 tournaments we were at this year. So, I mean, just having them, they've had the ability to do it. They just, like you said, like being able to do more of technical work, and because that's what those kids were lacking, just a little bit of technical work, being able to find the right pass, and just being able to spend a little bit of time with them. I mean, these girls, they've got really everything. We've got a good goalkeeper, good speed, our girls, I mean, they're 9 years old. They just want to play, want to have fun. And when every time you go out, it makes it fun, they always want to come play.
Yeah, so, there's nothing better than that, right?
Yeah.
Did you play club in Missouri?
I did, yeah. So I was really more, the club there, I had to travel to St. Louis to play, so that was about an hour away. So it was really just kind of spotty tournaments all across, just because, it was, back then, it was, if you wanted to drive that far, you had to be really freaking good. And I would never categorize myself as really good. And so I would just go play at tournaments. I remember going to play indoor tournaments that they had down south all the time, and then going to the other few little tournaments. But, I mean, it was just one of those that, you couldn't afford to drive 4 times a week going to St. Louis every single day. So, it was spotty, but the times I did get to play, I really enjoyed it.
I'm always curious as to we have a lot of great coaches here in Oklahoma City, but they're not necessarily from Oklahoma City. Like, we not take advantage, but we gain from all these people that come from other cities and end up making Oklahoma City their home, or Oklahoma their home. Why or how did Oklahoma end up being your home?
The reason why it's my home is because I have a beautiful wife who's from here, and her family's from here, and it's easier for me since I had already left my home. In Missouri, it's about 8 hours away, so it was easier for me to stay here rather than have her move back, just because I've already had that pain of leaving my family and only get to see them once or twice a year. And so that's really the only reason why we stayed, just so I love my wife's family. I love the family that we have here, and it's like we've been pretty successful here. There's no need to uproot our whole life to go just be closer to my family, because then now we're having to start everything all over again.
Yeah, that's true. Well, on the bright side, now you're coaching at, now you're impacting kids in Newcastle.
Yeah.
You're impacting kids in Norman. And now you have 2 Oklahoman kids as well. So
yes,
it's like,
yes.
It sounds like she wants to talk to us. She hears us talking and she wants to.
She is very upset that we're not talking about her right now.
Poor girl.
So.
But yeah, that's how are you with coaching in your kids? Like, do you want them to eventually play soccer? Are you just gonna kind of let it happen?
I'm hoping that we can let it happen. Our youngest daughter, our firstborn, she is playing at Celtic right now. She played last season. That was her first time, and she really cared more about playing with the grass than playing soccer. So we're just gonna let it happen if it happens. I'm kind of the mindset that I'm around soccer so much. My wife played in college. She did all that. So we're around soccer enough so that we're hoping that
they're rub off on them.
Yeah, they're gonna rub off. But if it doesn't, then I was in band and choir in high school as well. So if they want to do that, if they want to do art, we're just gonna be happy that they're doing something that they enjoy,
the best that they can in it, right?
Attempting to do the best. Yeah.
Yeah. I have 2 kids, and Nah. I could tell them, hey, let's go play soccer. Nah. My daughter's like, hey, I want a Barbie house. I'll get you a Barbie house if you want to come to soccer practice. She's like, nah, I'm not going to soccer practice. So I've tried, but hopefully it rubs off on them eventually.
Eventually it might, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my fingers crossed. That's my hope, Just I want them to do something in sports. If if I had a dream world, I don't care if it's soccer, softball, basketball, whatever. I'm like, just pick something that I can go watch and be that annoying dad in the stands.
Definitely. There isn't anything better than just being there and being like, go, baby girl, you got this. That's my girl. Yeah, no, definitely. But taking it back to your high school soccer, with the season coming up, do you have any goals in mind? Anything that you're trying to benchmark for your kids to shoot for or anything like that?
Our biggest benchmark that we have is making it out of the first round. Newcastle's never made it out of the first round of playoffs,
really?
Ever. So, we've been there. We've been there a handful of times. We've just never got out of it. And so, that's our biggest benchmark, to do something Newcastle's never done. I mean, last year we won 10 games. Mm-hmm. Newcastle's never won that many games. So it's like, how can we, what's the next one up? And so that next one up is, all right, let's attempt to make a deep run in the playoffs. We don't just want to get there. We want to be successful there. Mm-hmm. So
who did you guys face in the first round of playoffs?
Last year we faced Woodward. We had to go to Woodward. And if you've never been to Woodward, they play on an extremely small pitch. Mm-hmm. It's long, but it's tiny, and so it was just hard for our kids to,
string a few passes along.
Well, I mean, we are a very spread it out team. We want to get out wide and then attack in, and are just, we can't get out wide.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, dude, I broke my collarbone playing against Woodward.
Really?
On a give and go, I got it back, slide tackle, and I just fell terribly wrong at the beginning of the season. It was my sophomore year, so I go to I went to Dove High School.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was our first year, and yeah.
Are you hungry? Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna get her.
Yeah. Take care of what you have to take care of. I completely understand.
Hey, I know. Daddy didn't feed you. What was I thinking? What was I thinking not giving you a bottle? I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's like, yeah.
Okay. What is Daddy doing?
How old is she?
She is 3 months old.
3 months old?
Yeah, so.
Dang. Yeah, we have a due date end of July.
Oh,
so a summer baby.
I tell you what, she was a summer baby, so she was born in August, and the whole what was it? Just summer. My wife said she'll never ever do that again because that was just
summer baby. Well, it's because it's ridiculously. It's dumb hot.
It's so hot. All right, hey, give Daddy 1 second. Look, Daddy's gonna do this. Yeah. Boom. Right back at you.
Damn. Shout out to all the dads out there that can do it all.
Hey, this is as much as I can do. If my wife heard you say that, she said that I could never do any of this.
Yeah, I bet you my wife would say the same thing. But it's not easy. It's not easy. Shout out to the moms. Moms are great, dude. Hey, I don't know.
My wife is the MVP. I don't know how she does it, but she keeps us running. And this happy mom let you come out with Dad. That doesn't even get to happen a whole lot.
Yeah, now she's going to get some screen time.
Yeah. Hey, first ever screen time, girl.
How has being a father and coaching, has that changed anything for you? Or?
I mean, it really has. I mean, my wife said it made me soft because I have 2 girls, so I'm not, when I'm coaching my team at Celtic, I'm not as hard on them as I am with my boys. It really, it kind of changes because by the time that I get home, from high school to club, my kids are already getting ready to go to bed. And so it changes that aspect because it makes me more thankful of the time I get to spend with them. Because it's like, man, I want to spend as much time and play games with them. But, at the same time, it's, when they get older, I want them to be able to see like, hey, Dad is doing something he loves to help provide for us. And, it's something that he's passionate about. And so I hope that it gives the kids that desire to have something to be passionate about, to where they can say, hey, you know what? I want to be able to go out and do something and enjoy it, like Mom and Dad do. So.
Yeah. Or like your dad said to you, like, hey, you're not happy, dude. Go find something that you like to do, and the world will give you what you need, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first time I'd ever really been outside of my hometown.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I'd been, like, on, like, to cruise, like, you know, just vacations and all that kind of stuff. But, like, I'd never been outside of my hometown for more than, like, a week.
A semester at a time?
Yeah. And so just literally jumping to a new place, didn't really know it. I think I had one friend here that I knew. And I was like, all right, you know, like, I'm just trusting that it's going to work out. And so, you know, it's, you know, I look back on it, I'm like, man, that's like 14 years ago. It's crazy to think about that I've been here for almost as long, you know, as I had back in Missouri. So, you know, and that's another reason why it was easy to stay here, because it's like my second home. You know, I'd already been here for almost, you know, my whole life, just half of it. So. And
then you start to think, how old were you when you made that decision? Maybe 20? 18?
I was probably 18.
You think you know everything at 18, 19?
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Why would my parents say, hey, you have free school, now we're going to go send you to a school where you're going to have to pay for school?
And then it doesn't make sense now,
does it?
And then you weren't going to OU. You weren't going to OSU.
I wasn't going to a big...
You weren't going to Mid-America, which is small. You went to Hillsdale, which is like...
Yeah.
You pass it on I-30... You blink on I-35 and you don't see it.
I remember when we would go out just to eat or just go hang out with friends, they'd be like, where do you go? I'm like... And I would tell them, they'd be like, what's that? And I'm like, you know, you're going down 35 and you see that big green roof. And they're like, that's a school? I'm like, yeah, that's a school. And so that was the common, that's how I explain it a whole lot of times. They'd be like, oh yeah, they got a baseball field out there. I'm like, that's us. That's us.
If you get to Heyday, you went too far.
Yeah, me and all my buddies, we all worked at Heyday. Like we all worked at Heyday and Double Dave, so that was our thing.
I think it's funny how you're on now talking about Hillsdale, Randell, and we just had the Randell coaches. The girls coach, when he recruits, likes to say, you know, Hillsdale might not be for you, but if it is, we have your back 1,000%.
Yep.
The men's coach said, dude, Hillsdale's for you. Like, we'll make it for you. If you're trying to, you know, finish your degree and have a couple years of eligibility, we might be for you. What do you say about Hillsdale or Randell University?
You know, when I was there, you know, my last year we went 16-3, so it was the most successful season that the school's ever had. What I wanted to do and what I tried to tell kids, I'm like, listen, like, we're going to give you the opportunity to go be successful. And, you know, my first few years, I recruited, you know, a ton of inner city kids because those were the kids that just wanted to play, wanted to have that chance. You know, with so many colleges around here, you know, kids were slipping through the cracks that were phenomenal players. I mean, I've seen some I recruited just amazing players. They just were like, yeah, you know, no other school would give me a chance. And I'm like, come on, you know, let's go, you know. And we kind of had that chip on our shoulder, like, let's go prove someone wrong, saying, hey, you know, why did you not recruit X, Y, and Z? You know, I remember when I was going to these, you know, high school tournaments, you know, I'd see all the college coaches there, and they're like, well, who are you recruiting? I'm like, the same kid you are. I was like, we're going to go say, like, hey, we can go be better than you guys. And so, you know, I didn't really make a whole lot of friends doing that, but, you know, the kids that were there, you know, like, kind of like I said, we had their back. And we're like, hey, we're going to go show to them, hey, this is not just some sister school that, you know, it's been looked at for so long. And so that last year being there, you know, being 16-3, we beat like 5 scholarship schools that year, you know, big schools. And so, you know, we were like, hey, you know, just because we can't give scholarships doesn't mean our kids can't play. And we went out there and proved it. So we were happy, you know, but, you know, Randall's in a good place. You know, it's in the heart of Oklahoma City, so it's easy to say, hey, we'll make it work for you because there's really nothing they don't have right there. You know, they've got jobs around, they've got all that, and they've got that small class size. So, you know, if you're bad at school, you know, you're getting one-on-one teaching almost every single day.
Basically, huh?
So.
Yeah, and you can't. People don't understand that part of it. You go into OU, OSU, where you're 1 of 50, 1 of 70, compared to 1 of 14. You can't really slip through 1 of 14, 1 of 10.
Yeah, I remember one time when I was going to class, I had a professor. You know, I skipped. I was so tired, and then literally after class, I got an email. I was like, "Hey, you know, is everything all right?" And I was like,
damn.
I was like, man, this would never happen if I went to any other school. But I was like, I mean, I had to lie. I was like, oh, yeah, I was just not feeling good this morning. And he's like, it's all right. If you come see me, if you need something. And I'm like, no other school I would ever go to would a professor send me an email that says, hey, I didn't see you here this morning. Is everything okay? Did your car break down?
Mm-hmm.
And I would always tell my kids when I recruit them, I'm like, the teachers are going to know your name. They're going to know where you sit in class. Mm-hmm. And they're going to say, oh, hey, Nick's not here today. Like, let's go text Nick or let's go call Nick and see, like, hey, is there anything we can do to help him out? So that was another selling point, because if you told a parent that, parents were like, yeah, that's where my kid's going. Sure, I want him to be, I want the teachers to care about him.
For sure. So it sounds like you had a really successful college career, playing career, and a coaching career. Mm-hmm. Are there any moments as a player that you're always going to look back at and be like, yeah, that play, that goal led us to Florida, or that one won us the Natty? Any moment that you...
It was probably my first year, actually. I scored 4 goals in my college career, which... I mean, the grand scheme of things, that is not a whole lot. But I never had a chance to score. So the times I did, like, I remember all those. And we were at a national tournament, and we had lost our regional tournament. And so we were at, another tournament, and it came out to where if we beat this team that was there, like, we were the 2 top teams there. And like, hey, if you beat this team, then you get to go to Florida. And so we were playing, and my first ever collegiate goal, I had, we were playing, and the Norman North coach, Khalil, he was on that team my first year when I was at Hillsdale. Okay. Before he went to UCA in Arkansas, he was on that team, and I remember just, I can see it right now. He stole the ball off the left wing, and for some reason, I don't know if I was playing striker or, outside. I don't know what I was doing, and I just remember him crossing it with his left, and just... They all make fun of me because they said I literally jumped like a swan and just headed the ball in. And this keeper was like 6'8", like he was massive. And just doing that to score, game ends up going to overtime, and we win in penalties to end up getting to go to Florida. And so, like, that's the moment of my playing career that I'm like, this is the, like, this takes the cake. Yeah. And then we scored one more. I scored one more the next day, and I'm like, this was the greatest thing in the world. And then I scored my first game in my sophomore season, and I never scored again.
Dang.
So.
Well, hey, you scored a few times, but those are memorable goals. I played basketball in high school, and I always say this: I'm terrible. I'm not a basketball player. I'm a soccer player that just wanted to stay fit in the fall. I scored 8 points my whole 3 years of basketball, dude. 2 free throws and 2 3-pointers. But I'll never forget those. So yeah,
those are the ones you remember. You're like,
always.
Like, if someone asked me, I'm like, I could, recall everything that happened, the cross, me jumping, I'm like, boom. But then they're like, what happened? Like, how did this game end 0-0? Your senior year, I'm like, I don't.
Where'd you leave the controller?
I was like, idea. I don't remember anything.
But when he was running down the left and he threw that ball, and I had a zigzag to lose a defender and headed it with like a swan. You remember those like nothing?
Yes.
Yeah. What about coaching?
Coaching was probably that last year when I was at Randell. In the college-wise, I mean, just going 16-3 and beating NAIA schools. I mean, we went to our first game of the season that year was against Sagu, and we just I knew we were going to have a good team, but I didn't know how good. We had a great preseason, and we went to Sagu first game of the season, beat them 4-1.
Wow!
And they took us lightly just because we were Randall. We were a school that you can't give scholarships. Our kids are normally. When I took over, we had probably 14 guys. And so that was my big thing when I transitioned. I'm like, hey, we've got to build a team. And so that last year we went there, Sagu, but just that last year, the kids were just, we had some phenomenal players on that team. And just being able to, to go to schools where they're like, yeah, we're expecting to just walk over these guys and, just beating teams handily. We beat Southwestern and Winfield. We beat them 2-0 that year. They came to our place, and we beat them, and even though we lost, we played MacU. That was when Mitch was still the coach there, and they had beat that year. They were phenomenal. They were beating teams 5-6-0, and those were scholarship schools. And then we went in there, we lost like 3-1, and I'm like, guys, I was like, I don't think you understand. I was like,
it's a respectable result.
I was like, we're not like. None of you guys get paid to come play. I was like, in their school that they played the day before, that give scholarships, they beat them 6-0, and we just lost 3-1. I was like, was like, and we hit the crossbar twice. I was like, guys, I said, if the ball falls our way once, we have a chance. It's like, we still probably would have lost just because that team was phenomenal. But it's like, you guys have the ability to be great. And I think that's what propelled us that year. We just did good. We won our, the first regional championship we had in like 10 years. And so we got a free, our free bid to Florida. We went to Florida. We ended up losing to the eventual winners, but we lost in overtime on a penalty kick. So
game of inches, right?
Yeah. So, but that year is just extremely memorable because it's one of those that the guys realized that like, hey, it was. I firmly believe that was the time where it's like, hey, Randall is not just the sister school anymore. Because back before I was at Randall, MACU and SCU, they were the same. We played them all the time. They were the same level as us. And so, but then when they went NAI and they started giving scholarships, like that's when it changed. And it's like, like we could. I always had that belief, like, could Randall ever be that if they decided to go? And so there's always that big what if. But that last year was definitely memorable just because we were successful. The games we lost were close. They were good games. And it's like, those are memories you look back on.
Yeah. Could you see Randall going Division I?
I don't think they ever will. They just don't have that interest. They like where they're at. They're successful there. It's kind of I always say, like, Carl Albert will never move 6A. If they wanted to, they could always go 6A because, they're such a nice big school. But when you're always so successful where you're at, it's like, why move?
Why fix it if it's not broken? Right?
Exactly. And so I think they'll stay there, and because that's allows them to keep their class sizes small. Allows them to really stay true to what their university wants to do. So
she's almost done.
Yeah, she normally flies through these things, but it's because the camera's on you. Ain't that right? You're shy.
What's feeding your soccer soul more, being a player or being a coach?
Both. I mean, I play at ISA all the time, so that kind of feeds my physical soul. But the mental side is just I love being able to learn. I love getting to know from coaches that are like, man, like tell me more. What could I be doing better? Just last night I met with a few guys. And I'm like, okay, hey, here's what I've got going on. I'm trying to do this. How can I do this? And so coaching feeds that mental side, which keeps me sane. But I've got to be able to play every now and then. To before we had our kids, me and my wife, we'd play
co-ed.
We'd play 4 nights a week.
No, that's awesome.
And so because she was extremely good, and so I would get the pity invite. So because everyone needs girls to come play.
Yeah, and if they can score, even better.
Exactly. And so she was a striker winger, so she can score, and so they'd all invite her to play, and they'd be like, hey, I guess your husband can play too. I'm like, oh yeah, baby. Like, that's all I needed. And so, but we would play all the time, and so I've got I used to play at Western and Utah, but just being able to play every now and then, but getting to play with the high school guys, that kind of keeps me young. Keeps me young. Yeah, I attempt to. So
yeah, it's hard now that the body isn't responding the way we want it to. My mind says go that way, but my body says hang on.
All my players make fun of me because they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, when you get this age, you're gonna have to stretch. Yeah. You can't just like put your boots on and start pinging balls all across the field.
Yeah.
Because all of them are like, like, coach, my leg hurts a little bit, and I was like, it's because you got out of your car, you put your soccer cleats on, and you just started running a full game. I was like, you can't do this anymore. I was like, you're getting to that age where you're getting old. And they're like, no, 17's not that old. I'm like, trust me, 5 years, your knees are going to thank me.
We understand that it goes in one ear and goes out other. And now we are the people that are just like, you got to stretch, man. Because if you don't stretch, eventually it's going to happen.
And and I'm a teacher too. So that whole going in one ear and going out the other, every single day.
What do you teach?
I teach history.
History.
Yeah. So I teach history this year, and then next semester I'll teach personal finance.
For high school?
Yep.
Personal finance from history to. Are you wanting to do personal finance?
No. So I do Oklahoma history. So that's just a semester long class. So the first semester, the first 2 quarters, I guess, they do Oklahoma history, and then the next 2 quarters they'll do personal finance. So teaching kids how to be smart with their money, and which is
necessary. I don't understand why we don't teach it everywhere.
Yes, and so like I don't like it that we teach like 9th graders that because 9th graders don't really care.
Yeah.
Because they really don't have a job yet because they're too young because they can't drive. But a lot of them don't have money, but they want to try to make money. Mm-hmm. And so it's that weird, like, in between. But, last year we had a girl who did personal finance, and she lost, like, we do like a thing where, we'll give you X amount of dollars and you go set your life up. And I think she went bankrupt after a week because she bought pink furniture for her house. But she's like, I needed pink furniture. And I'm like, you need this class. That's why we have personal finance, because you can't spend, $20,000 on pink furniture.
That'd be funny. If it's not personal finance, it's the most famous game, Monopoly, that'll teach you about finances.
Yeah, that's what it is. So,
how's your soccer education going?
Soccer's good. I actually just signed up for another coaching license. So that should, I should be able to get my next coaching license here. Ooh, there you go. My next license here within the next.
Got a quick burp.
I know. It's good. Should be able to get it within the next by June. I should be finished with that.
What license?
I'll be getting my C.
The C? Wow!
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So, I had never been, all throughout coaching in college and all throughout that, I'd never been asked to get licenses. That that wasn't a thing. One of my mentors was like, that's just a money scheme. If you're a coach, you can coach. Like, you don't need a ABC. And so for the longest time, I never really had interest in them because I had been coaching in college, like, it's like, hey, I'm at, I'm never going to go
getting the field experience.
Yeah. It's like, I'm never going to go coach pro. Like, so I'm like, hey, enjoy my time. And then now that I'm kind of, I don't want to say older and wiser, I'm like, yeah, I really probably did, need that. Cause, going through some of my courses and doing all this, I'm like, like, some of those things can really be helpful. So my plan is to finish that, and then, because I've got a whole bunch of other license, like this, the normal licenses and all that, but it's like, goalkeeping stuff and tactical stuff. And I'm like, I probably should try to really go for a CB eventually. So now that I'm at the club, I have the ability to go do it. Just because those licenses are so expensive, I'm like, I'm never gonna, like, I don't want to spend $2,000 on something that.
Is that how much it's?
Yeah.
The
so
C cost?
The C is $2,000, and
wow. And
so I mean, even if I wanted my next level, which is the B, that one's like 25, $3,000. It's like, that's why so many coaches get, don't go up so high, because it's like,
is it worth it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you may only get paid, a few, maybe $50 extra by the club. So it's not like you're getting paid it's not like it's going to be beneficial. And, you might get on one of the top teams, which that may get you a little bit more pay. But with how political club can be sometimes, it's like you have to really, work your way into one of those. And so, I know a lot of coaches who just were like, hey, I've got the bare minimum I need to do to coach, and that's all I ever want. That works
for them.
Yeah. So when I think it was back in 2016 when I was getting my D at the time, I was with a guy who he coached for 30 years. He was an old guy, just super old. He goes, my wife's making me do this. And I was like, why? She goes, well, she has her A, and the club that they're working at now wouldn't let him coach like the top teams anymore because they went to those license, like, hey, now they're required. And so they're like, now I can't coach, the girls. He's like, I can't coach the girls that I've been coaching for 7 years because I just have my D. Yeah. And I'm like, are you serious? He goes, yeah. He's like, no, like, my director's like, I've been coaching longer than he has. And now just because he has a better license, they're not letting me coach. And so it was just a wild, like, that's when it kind of went into my head. I'm like, licenses don't mean anything. I've met a ton of good coaches who have licenses that can't coach at all. But then I had some that have had that, Hampton's got his A, and he's a phenomenal coach. He's got all that experience. And so it's like, I think it works, but I don't think it works for all people.
Definitely.
So.
I remember when I went to go get my E license, and granted, it was my entry-level license, but we were out there with a bunch of people that had never played the game, or they were just there because their kids wanted to start playing. And I commend that too. They didn't know anything about it, and they wanted to continue their learning through getting that E license. But compared to me and a couple friends that were still playing college ball, we were looking around like, dude, these guys have never played. Like, what are these guys doing getting their license? But little did we know, like you said, like, in the long run, it is worth it. It is worth it. So.
I mean, I remember when I was doing my E, and I had a guy who literally didn't have soccer cleats. And I always carry like 3 extra pairs with me.
And shorts under my pants.
Yeah, like I always have everything. And I'm like, and I was like, dude, here, like take these, like, because I got them at Ross. I was like, here, take these. And he goes, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. I was like, you're going to be a soccer coach. And he goes, I know. I said, so you need soccer cleats? And he goes, that's probably right. And I said, here, just take these. I was like, they're your size. And I was like, so that was like my memories. I'm like, you know, those beginning grassroots things. Kids are just, you know, like it's people wanting to learn, but they're just doing it, you know, to make someone happier. Like that's where those education, like those top ones, I'm like, if someone really wants to coach, make it affordable for them to be able to go do it. So
we are trying to see how we can work on making that more accessible, making it in Spanish.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yep.
For here in Oklahoma City, we have the Football Factory. Right? We are now starting the Mas Futbol Foundation, which is for our nonprofit activities that we do, like the Sunrise Soccer.
Yep.
And that's been one of the ones that we've been kind of hammering our head with, is how can we help coaches? And that's been one of the ones, is like maybe bringing those courses to the city, to them, and definitely providing it in Spanish. I think that would be...
I think that would work out because, I mean, you've got a lot of those people who are teaching those courses. They don't speak Spanish. And so you're just missing out. I mean, if you're going to do it, make it to where everybody can have a chance to do it. Yeah. And so, I mean, because that's where, I mean, if we're being honest, you don't really see a bunch of, like, at the top clubs, you don't really see a lot of those Hispanic coaches just because they don't, you know, like you said.
They're probably just like you, a license? Like, I played soccer my whole life.
Yeah, they're like, I don't need one. And so they don't, you know, they're on those bottom teams because they're like, hey, you know, you can't coach our top girls, even though you should be able to because you're a good enough coach. You know, rural state, you just can't. So,
well, the World Cup's coming. I'm curious as to what you think. I mean, the World Cup has always been a huge impact, but when it came in '94, it was huge. Now that it's going to come here in a couple years, like, do you think those type of events impact soccer communities in Newcastle?
Yes. I mean, I think the World Cup will be just massive here. You know, soccer is probably the second biggest sport now behind football. I mean, baseball kind of lost its edge just because, you know, they're trying to make it
steroids.
Well,
no, I'm
exactly.
joking.
No, that's exactly right.
That's my joke. It stopped getting entertaining when they stopped taking steroids, and home runs were just not as
big. and then you talk to people who are baseball purists, you know, they strike out too much. So, you know, baseball's kind of go down, and since we are good now, you know, I think that's the biggest thing, since U.S. soccer is like actually respectable. And it's not saying they weren't back then, but it's one of those like, man, like, you know, we could compete. And I think that's what is going to push this next generation of people saying, hey, you know what, like, we can go compete, we can go win. I mean, you never want to be a part of a team that you don't think you're ever going to win. And so I think now kids are saying, oh, you know, if I'm good enough, I can go, you know, I could potentially go be a part of this, and we could go win a World Cup. We could go win trophies because, you know, I mean, within the past 3 years, the United States won 5 trophies, maybe. I think that sounds right. And it's like, you know, kids want to
the CONCACAF right now.
Yeah, kids want to be successful. Kids want to be a part of something that's like, you know, that's where you get a bunch of these dual nationalists, kids that used to go to Mexico. Now they're saying, hey, Mexico's not any good anymore. And I mean, it's not that they're not good. It's like, I'd rather go play for the U.S. because
they might have a better opportunity.
Yeah, and they are the kings of the CONCACAF, you know, and
yes,
so that's a big thing. And so, soccer is going to be, the World Cup is going to, I mean, especially being in Dallas, I expect there to be a whole lot of after 2026, because I think they're doing, they just put a bid in for the 2027 Girls World Cup.
I heard that.
So, I mean, like, I think because we have the Copa America next year. And
then
Club
World Cup
following
year.
I think these next 4 years are going to be massive for U.S. soccer, and interest is going to be crazy.
Do you like watching soccer?
Oh, I watch soccer anytime it's on TV. I mean, I anything from the Bundesliga to, you know, Liga MX to, you know, I used to watch when I was coaching at Randell. Every morning I would go work out, I'd eat breakfast, and it would be the Indian Super League. And so me and my other assistant coaches, 8 o'clock, we'd turn on the Indian Super League and we'd watch, you know, that. And I'm just like, I think that's how you learn. You know, you just watch people play, and, you know, that's how you can get better, because kids nowadays, they don't they don't watch soccer. You know, I could ask my high school kids, like, hey, how many of you guys are watching soccer?
No.
And just, I mean, we got a handful, but there's just so many other things to do. Like, but I try to force my kids, like, hey, watch one game a week, and watch your position. Find someone you like that's in your position, and figure out how to watch them, and just watch them every single week.
And you're telling me they're not watching YouTube videos like we used to?
Yeah,
watch Viva Football and watch them do tricks and whatnot. They're not doing that nowadays.
No, they got. I mean, if I ask my kids, I'm like, hey, over Christmas break, are you gonna watch soccer? They're gonna be like, no, we're gonna go play Fortnite. We're gonna go play video games. I'm like, they're like, well, we're playing FIFA. I was like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, FIFA's not gonna help you get better. And so, I mean, I remember, you know, just growing up, you'd watch players play, and you're like, okay, that's what I want to do. And then you'd go Google Messi skills. How do I do Messi skills? And then you just watch that. You know, I've got a few of my top guys do that, but it's just high school, you know, kind of like what you mentioned earlier. You've got so many different levels of talent, so many different levels there where it's like some of those kids are like, I'm just here to have fun, you know, and I'm never going to do anything else. So,
do you have any coaches here that you watch and try to emulate? Like any coaches you look up to here in the state? Anyone that you've met that you're just like, or heard, and you're just like, oh, that guy.
You know, I've got a few coaches, you know, but probably the biggest one, and I know it's going to sound corny, is Coach Burley, Niall Burley. You know, he's my brother-in-law. So
Great.
yeah, so
he's the one that went to UCO.
he's the one that went to UCO.
Coaching the girls
He's the no, that's Niall.
Okay, the other one.
Yeah, this is not. So he's the one who does the semi-pro, the imps.
Okay.
He does that, and he's the director at Celtic. But you know, just you know, from getting to us to hang out, you know, at my parents-in-law couch to where we're at now, and seeing his development, just watching him. You know, there's some days where my practice will end with my girls, and I'll just sit and watch his practice, just, you know, seeing that and just seeing how I you know, like
the language he uses.
Just the language and the way it goes, and you know, and there's a lot of other coaches. You know, I love the girls' coach from Norman North, Trevor LaFoon. I think he's an excellent coach. Bo Richmond at Redlands. You know, I was an assistant for him when I was at Hillsdale.
I think he's a MacU guy, right?
He was at MacU, but he's at Redlands now. I think he graduated. Bo went to college St. Greg's.
I think he worked at MacU.
But, yeah, he worked at MacU for a little bit.
He was there when I was there.
But you know, I love Bo, and Bo taught me just like, hey, soccer has to be fun, and so like you have to make the kids enjoy it, and so just some of his mannerisms and the thing he does, I'm like, I implement that to this day because I'm like, kids need to have fun while they're playing. So
especially the girls team, right?
Yeah.
Not the high school kids.
Yeah,
you can make it fun every now and again, but the girls team, they have to have fun.
Yeah, our high school boys, they know that if I say, hey guys, we're gonna have fun practice today, they're like,
we're gonna run.
All right, we're gonna run all practice today. I'm like, well, it's fun for me. You know, I enjoy it. So
Get to watch you guys run. That's
Yeah.
funny. What about player? Who was the player for you that you would watch and try to emulate back in the 2010 days?
like a professional player, probably my favorite player. I love Bastian Schweinsteiger.
Okay.
He was just
The machine.
he was a machine, you know. And I played as that 6, so just watching him kind of just control everything, and really back in 2010 he was on the latter end of his career. He wasn't as good as when he was in the early 2000s, but I loved him. And then for some reason, I don't know why, I really loved Breck Shea.
Okay.
He played for FC Dallas, and like he had one just stellar season.
Yeah.
Just went off, and then he went to England and just kind of ruined
fell off from
ruined
there.
his career, and then he kind of hopped around in MLS teams. But for some reason, just you know, he played with such free flowing, and just I enjoyed watching him play on the wing and just kind of take people on, and you know, I mean, I remember in high school or in college, I did his haircut. He had like that.
The long hair.
He had that
kinda,
weird Euro mullet kind of thing, and so like I remember, you know, all throughout college when I played, I had a Euro mullet. And they're like, "That is ugly." I'm like, "Yeah, but Breck Shea's got it."
Yeah,
So,
what's up
like,
with soccer players and their hairstyles? We
Yeah,
just got to do it, right?
It's not as bad as it used to be, and like
Yeah.
the hairstyles now, like they're kind of really tame. But like think back like early 2000s and like 2010s. You know, Beckham had all those hairstyles, so kids were doing.
Hawk, the
like-
paint your hair yellow.
Yeah, like Neymar's hair is not as bad anymore.
Yeah, right.
Like they've all really kind of tamed down. Like you probably can't name one bad hairstyle in all of soccer. Like I mean, you like now you really have to think about it. Like really like picture that. Like back then you could go like Ronaldo, You know, the little freaking
The patch.
like the patch, ugly. Neymar had ugly hair. David Beckham had just weird hair. Like you could start naming all these guys had bad hair, but now you're like,
Who has bad hair?
like
now?
who's got bad hair? And then you're like, is that really bad hair, or does he just not, you know, does he not comb it? Does he not do anything with it? Because like that's when you get the best. Everyone's hair nowadays, like it's more proper. They have that fancy style. You know, it's a nice little slick comb over.
The Jack Grealish.
Short on the sides, and like that's probably the worst one when you got those guys who've got those weird, like weird little ponytails. I'm like, if that's the worst one we're talking about, then
The Holland man bun.
yeah. See, like if that's the worst one, it's like, man, like
We're doing all right.
yeah, we're doing pretty okay with ourselves.
True. Very true. Well, dude, we've been recording for an hour. It's been an hour already.
See, like I don't get to talk soccer enough. Like my
No?
wife, when I talk about it, she's like, okay, yeah, like we're done. So like anytime I get a chance, like with my high school guys, they make fun of me because I can just keep on, like, you know, when you're in college, you got that bond. You can start talking to kids all the time, and like you talk to, like you can, you know, you go back to the dorm room, and that's the only thing you do. So now, like the second I get home, it's like, okay, it's Paw Patrol. You know, I don't get to talk soccer. Or
It's Bluey in my house.
see, yeah, Bluey, Doc McStuffins, all that, and so. You know, anytime I get a chance, like, you don't realize that it just flies by like that.
Yeah, sometimes I'll talk to my kids about soccer, and I know that it's going over their head, but I'll be like, can you believe it's 2-1? Like, how a red card? Like, come on, dude, this team is obviously paying the ref. And so it's like, all right, is it my turn now? Let's play Spider-Man or something?
Yeah. I don't know how many times I'll watch soccer. You know, I'll watch the EPL on the weekends, and, you know, I'll be watching it, and then my daughter will be like, Daddy, it's my turn for the TV. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I have to go back to the bedroom to watch what I want to watch now. So,
yeah, we gotta figure. Have you taken them to a game yet, like a professional game?
no, I mean, so my oldest daughter's just 3.
Okay.
So like at that point in time, I don't think the energy had already kind of disbanded. And then of course, Emmy, she's not old enough, but I would love to take her to one. I love to take her whenever they can kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, cause I mean, sometimes we'll watch like a game on the TV and she'll be interested and she'll be like if someone gets fouled, she'll be like, ooh, that red person really bad. I'm like, that's right. I was like, you get it.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
so they're slowly starting to pick it up, but I love it. You know, I love taking to a game when they can say, hey, like this team has the ball. We're rooting for the blue team. Like every time they get it, let's cheer. And so, I mean, she'll come to, you know, she's come to some of my high school games, but you know, I don't think she just understands, hey, Daddy is coaching. So that's the only thing she gets.
Got you.
I hear you, sister.
She's like, it's time. It's time. And she's right, you know. But, Nick, do you have anything or any messages you want to leave to your high school kids that we can clip up and post it on the ground for them to see? Like, this is your time to set the tone, I guess, for the season.
You know, I told my high school kids yesterday, you know, we kind of finished out. It was the last day of school yesterday, and our varsity guys, our top guys, we always play because I've got all the kids going together at the same time. Right now, it's just me and another coach. We're still trying to find 1 or 2 more coaches that we really want to bring on. And so the older time is the time we get to kind of let them, you know, the top talent gets to play with top talent, so that way they can kind of breathe for a little bit, so they, you know, if they make that pass, they know that pass is going to get trapped correctly. And so after we got done, I kind of said, guys, I said, you know, I'm going on the podcast. You know, is there anything, you know, you want me to say, you know? And I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to be bold. You know, like Newcastle, you know, we have a chance to be extremely good this year. We didn't lose. I think we lost 1-2 seniors last year. And so, you know, we're returning 9 of our starting 11. And you know, we've got some younger kids who have really stepped up. We've got some kids who have kind of came out of the woodworks and have turned into some pretty phenomenal players. And I told our kids, I'm like, hey, you know, we're going to be bold, and you know, we're going to set the bar high. And you know, they were excited. And so, you know, if I'm speaking to the kids, I would say, you know, go show them what, you know. No one believes in Newcastle. Newcastle's played the same way. They've played long ball. They did this, that. They've never had, you know, someone who's going to say, hey, we're going to go out and, you know, we're going to go out and win 10 games. And we're going to go out and, you know, make it out of the first round. And so I challenged them. I said, hey, you know, go show the world what you got. because I mean, if you really had to pick who's going to win 4A soccer, you say Clinton. It's easy. That's an easy pick. Same thing if I had to say who's going to win 5A, I'd go Santa Fe South. It's an easy question. And so I told them and I challenged them. I said, hey, go out and say, Clinton's good, but what's up with this Newcastle team? I've challenged coaches, my coaching network. I've emailed colleges. I've done all that. All of my seniors have either been offered or have had multiple offers from colleges. So I'm like, you guys have the talent. I was like, now let's go put it to use. So,
well said.
Yeah.
Well said. Well, I wish you guys and the program the best of luck this year, and for the girls. Beat out Clinton, man. I want to see someone else win it. No shots at Clinton.
No,
this is just to motivate you guys.
That is definitely no shots at Clinton. Clinton is the top dog, and we get their praise. They're actually our first game in district.
Wow.
So, and like I said at the very beginning, whether we lose 10-0 or 1-0, I want to be able to say they're the bar, they're the standard. How do we match up? And so I'd rather face them first than last, because that way, we have a lot of room to build, and a lot of room to grow, and we can figure out what we need to do to be successful.
What do you think Clinton does differently, or are they just putting to use those football players? I don't know. What do you think? What are they doing?
Clinton, I mean, the thing they do differently is there's not a lot out there, and since their team has been successful, everybody wants to be a part of that.
They had a good culture going on.
Yeah, they had that good culture, kind of like Santa Fe South. They built that culture for so long. Now, if you come into that program, you know exactly what to expect. And so Clinton, there's not a lot out in Clinton, and that's nothing bad against Clinton. It's just it's a smaller town, and so like you kind of latch on to what's successful. As a kid, you're like, man, like when you go to Norman, everything's successful. It's like, oh, I can play basketball. I can do this. When because everywhere is successful. But with Clinton, it's like soccer is successful. That's our main, we've won state there time and time again. It's like every kid wants to go be a part of that. And so now you've got these kids who are growing up saying, hey, as a 5-year-old, I want to go be a part of that. I want to go do that. I think that's what they do differently. Same thing as Santa Fe South. You got all these middle schools going there. They're like, one day maybe I can go play for Santa Fe South. You don't hear that about kids going, one day I want to go play for, so-and-so in the city. You don't hear that. It's like, it's Santa Fe South or bust.
Yeah.
And so.
And then it fosters like a different type of competition as well. Because now
so,
you have 200 kids showing up, and everyone's trying to make it to the 22. And
yeah, and I mean, and now with this new transfer rule that came out, I mean, it's even going to make it that much harder, because now that kids get these free transfers, you're going to get kids that are like, man, I'm the top player at Western Heights or U.S. Grant. Now I'm like, now I can get a free transfer and I don't have to move, and I can go play for Santa Fe South because I know I'm good enough. And, it's going to be the Wild Wild West, but that's what Clinton does that's successful, and they've built that program from the ground up, and, kudos to them. And so that's what we're, trying to do out here at Newcastle, just from the ground up, built that foundation. There's so many more schools around us now that are getting soccer. It's like soccer in that Tri-City area is about to explode. People are moving in left, right. And so, I'm expecting big things for Newcastle in the next few years.
Nice. Same here. That's what we call the podcast Mas Futbol, because Mas Futbol solves all problems.
Yeah, exactly.
It ends all wars. Mas Futbol, more soccer, more soccer. Well, Nick, I appreciate you for coming on, sharing your story, telling us a bit about Randell, Hillsdale, and Newcastle. I'm excited to see what's going to come this year, and hopefully have you on maybe at the end of the season or for the next year. So
yeah, I'd love to. I would challenge everyone to come out to a Newcastle game, and you will not be disappointed. So.
Well, I appreciate you again. For the listeners, appreciate you for tuning into this one. This has been another episode of the Mas Futbol Podcast.